finally in this series we're going to look at creating this setting, which is obviously a fair bit more detailed than some of the other things that we've done to date, so it might take a little bit more time with all these various different objects. Let's get into it then. Start with, back over in our workspace, start with a new artboard. It's a nice kind of clean workspace for us to get going with. Now, we'll do it bit by bit, and the first thing I'm going to make is a plate, and the plate's going to be made out of just a stroke, like so. But I will fiddle around with it a little bit. Obviously, the colour should change. Let's do something that is kind of pretty light. Start with grey, that'll be fine. And make it a little bit bigger, I think. It's a bit wider. The other thing I want to do is make sure that it's got a rounded cap. Okay, so that's all we need to do for the plate. Come over to our 3D material options, and remember we can get it by going Effect, 3D Materials, and selecting any of these. We'll go to, I actually want to revolve this object here. Looks a bit weird to start with, but that's because we've got the left edge selected, so select the right edge and we've pretty much got ourselves a bit of a plate there. Turn on the ray trace, and it's looking quite good. And if I wanted to edit my plate, I can do that by going in, editing the general shape of it. I can go in and muck around with my little vector here, maybe round off that corner. I was just hitting Command Y to show the skeleton of this and of my skeleton of my vector. So there we go, there's a plate. Now there's a funny little dot in the center there, which is a bit weird. I'm not sure why that is. I think it's because I might have to, can't really get rid of that. We'll ignore it at the moment. I suppose that is really where the center point is. Some objects over the top of it, so we'll just continue on. So there was a sausage. Let's make a sausage. We could make it out of just a stroke again, make it a bit fatter, and give it a different colour. Don't know what colour a sausage really is. It's sort of a browny pink kind of colour, I suppose. Maybe it's somewhere up here, yeah. Something like that. That'll do for the moment. You can fine tune your colouring. And under my objects, I'm going to inflate that. And that's a nice kind of shiny sausage. Getting back to my stroke though, if I give it a little bit of a bend with the anchor point, it might give it a bit more sausage, a bit more of a sausage look. Looking very crusty there, but just turned the ray trace on and off and it's looking a little bit better. I'm going to send the rotate to axis like that. It's looking quite good. And I'll give all these things a shadow as we go, I think. And the shadows are going to be below the object. To be really nice and soft. So let's put that on the plate. And the plate itself needs a shadow as well. Pop that below again. Really ramp up the softness of it. Cool, looking good. Now the egg is a strange one. We could just draw a shape, I suppose, or maybe we could start with a circle and roughen it, maybe distort, transform, roughen, make it smooth and not very detailed. Oops, not detailed at all. That's not looking very egg-like. That's a bit better. Something like that's okay, and I might expand it and just make a couple of alterations. That could be an egg, but it's going to be a white plane, I suppose. So we'll change that to white. And for this one, what should we do for this one? I reckon we could try a few different things, but it's either going to be extrude or inflate. Let's try extrude to start with a rounded bevel on it. And make depth nothing. Rotation might be a little bit tricky because I might have to play with that. Yeah, I reckon that's going to be quite good. Turn the ray trace on and go back to the bevel and make that a bit lower. We can position that on the plate. Something like that. It's going to be hard to get the lighting quite perfect with this. Sorry, the shadow. That'll do. That's looking okay. Not exactly the same as my original intention, but kind of good nonetheless. And this is going to be the yolk. For the yolk, we'll try inflating it. It's alright. Good. Depth, drop the depth down. And we can position that where it needs to go. Maybe just a slight adjustment to the rotation there. I really do feel like these sliders are easier to manipulate. And that looks alright too. Pop on a little bit of a drop shadow. Make it soft. So we've got quite a few of our objects in place now. Make few more arrangements. You could fiddle around with that for hours, couldn't you? Our sausage, our egg, our plate. Let's make a cup, and the cup's going to be rotated. Start with just a couple of lines, like so. Flip it to a stroke. Just make a grey colour, and expand it a little. Give it a rounded edge, and this corner needs to be a bit rounder. Okay, so that's really a cup edge. While we're here, we'll make a handle. Just delete that out. These two edges can be rounded. There's our handle, but we want the coffee in the coffee cup. So I'm going to copy that and paste it in front, Command C, Command F, and just make some small changes to this. We will kind of fill it out with some volume and some colour, I suppose. Coffee colour is sort of like this here. Oops. Something like that. Okay, so there's our elements. If we group this together, we need to group it together. We can come up to here, and under Object, we'll revolve our coffee cup. And it does look really weird to start with, but swap it around to right edge, and there we've got a cup. Front axis, I might go isometric left so we can look into it a little bit more. This kind of scale of it is not quite right, so I want to select a couple of points and oops, I suppose it's these points. These points. Just nudge that over. It's going to make it taller. And that little hides that little weird divot in the center, but I think if I bring that over, I'd hide that anyway. Looking good. Our lighting here is kind of cool. Let's add a shadow. This time I want it to be below the object. Mess around with the rotation so it's similar. Height and obviously the softness. It's not working as expected because I haven't got the ray trace on. Might tilt it back a little bit. Which one are we trying to do? Let's leave it. Move on to our extrusion of our handle. Turn on the ray trace. I think a little bit of a rounded bevel would be good. Depth down a bit. That almost will fit in perfectly there. Don't mind that at all. We'll just group that together. Not quite looking in line, but certainly getting there, and you get the idea, and with a little bit of tweaking and fiddling with things, we could tidy that up. Let's finally finish off by creating a bit of a chopping board for it to sit on. A square. We'll fill that square in and extrude it. And then top axis. That looks quite good. We'll send it to the back, just arrange send to back. Maybe just position it a bit differently. Oh, messed that up. I think that'll be okay. Just go with that. Let's turn the ray trace on, change the lighting a little bit, softness. It's really the rotation that we want to change. Let's get back to that rotation. Very strange. I think that might be because of the I think I've messed up the rotation of that. It's all very weird. I think we need to go that's looking better. Isometric top. Should maybe have kept these isometric because now we've got our two objects there in line or in perspective, but these aren't quite. Could maybe fiddle with that towards the end of the video. Lighting, quite soft. Rotation's more over this way. That's looking good. Let's give this a material because I think there's some okay timber kind of materials. Maybe we could try this one. That looks good to me. I think we'll stick with that. For the most part, we've kind of completed this off. We could play around a little bit trying to get these things into alignment or maybe into a more of an isometric perspective. But generally speaking, it's not too bad. I think the sausage would be alright, kind of on that spot there. The plate we do need to tinker with. Could have a quick go at it, but might mess it up. But oh. That's looking good. So isometric left is what we wanted. Make it a little smaller. Maybe we could play around with the egg now. Try and get that to isometric left. No. There we go, isometric top. Cool. So it's really a matter of playing around with those perspective options, trying to get everything in line, depending on what kind of 3D type you use. The rotations act differently. So you've got to spend a bit of time matching all those things up. But we kind of got there in the end. Thanks for sticking in there with me. Catch you soon.